Hello, jewelry lover. My name is Bella Naiman, and I'm the founder of New York City Jewelry Week. Welcome to this virtual program, part of NYCJW 24. The theme for the seventh annual edition is Wander and Wander, and it reflects the multifaceted nature of jewelry as both art and personal expression. Wander captures the awe-inspiring craftsmanship behind each piece, the dazzling, delicate, or bold details that turn your head in admiration. Wander invites you to explore the wonderful and wild creative journeys behind the jewelry. It's not just about the finished piece, it's about the adventure it took to get there. Designers experiment, push boundaries, and play with ideas and materials. And this year, New York City Jewelry Week takes participants to see it all unfold. Every necklace, ring, and bracelet is a passport to a new world where innovation reigns and imagination knows no limits. So we hope that these programs will take you on that journey and are your passport as well. Sit back, enjoy, and while these are not live, we welcome your comments. So please don't hesitate to drop us a line, whether it's email or Instagram, or even get in touch with some of the incredible curators, artists, writers that have really worked very hard to bring you this program. So thanks very much. And we also hope to see you out in New York. Bye.
Hello, welcome to a panel discussion on the jewelry of the Grand Tour. I'm Elyse Zorn Karlin, author, freelance curator, and co-director of the Association for the Study of Jewelry and Related Arts. My fellow panelists are Beth Carver Wees, who is Curator Emerita, the American wing at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, where for 20 years she oversaw the collections of American silver, jewelry, and other metalwork. The book she co-authored with Sheila Smithy about the important New York jewelry firm Marcus & Company is about to be published. Merle Koblenz is a GIA graduate gemologist, an appraiser, and a third-generation jeweler. She grew up in her family's jewelry business in Albany, New York, and has been buying and selling antique and estate jewelry in her own business since 1980. Lourdes Winnick is an appraiser and jewelry specialist at David Rago Auction. With 20 years of experience in the fine jewelry industry, she has also appeared on the Antiques Roadshow. I'm going to begin by giving a brief overview of the jewelry that's associated with the Grand Tour. The pieces I will be showing are in museum collections, and mostly, but not all, are by well-known artists and firms. After my background talk, I will show one piece of jewelry at a time, and our panel members will discuss them from the perspective of their areas of expertise, as if they were pieces that were just brought to them to examine. They will not have researched the pieces. The pieces they will talk about are not in museum collections, and their makers are unknown for the most part. In the early years of the 18th and 19th centuries, it was fashionable for wealthy British families to send their sons on a tour of Europe. It was a trip that was designed to introduce the young men to the art, history, and culture of other countries, especially Greece and Italy. Contrary to popular belief, there were also some forward-looking women of means who undertook the trip on their own, with a companion, or with family members. In the later 19th century, Gilded Age Nouveau Riche Americans, often husbands and wives, also undertook the Grand Tour, with stops in London, Paris, cities in Germany, Rome, Florence, and Naples, often on the itinerary. What attracted these tourists was the opportunity to explore marvelous examples of Renaissance art and architecture, as well as recently discovered antiquities, including the archaeological sites of Pompeii and Herculaneum. Excursions to the remains of these ancient ruins, located within the city of Naples in southern Italy, were an important part of the tour. Naples was often the last visit on the tour because it was easy to get a boat back to England from there. Pieces of jewelry acquired on the Grand Tour were often gifts for those who remained at home or memorabilia of the experience. There were many different kinds of jewelry bought along the Grand Tour, but as I have limited time to speak today, I will focus on the most popular categories and those you are likely to find in the marketplace today. Oops. Micromosaics, a revival of 16th century technique, were often made in the workshops of the Vatican and captured the sites of Rome in miniature format, as well as also featuring religious subjects. Many other designs can be found as well. Some of the micromosaic jewelry was made by revivalist jewelers, who I'll talk about more in a few minutes. Micromosaics are created from tiny fragments of glass called tesserae. They are arranged in a copper or gold tray to create a scene, portrait, or landscape. The metal or stone supports are then filled with resin or cement, upon which the tesserae are carefully placed and arranged to create the desired image. Once the material has hardened, the gaps between the tesserae are filled with colored wax, and the whole picture is polished to achieve a smooth and even surface. It's an art form that requires considerable effort and time. Micromosaics were also used in grand scale in objects, but we're only concerned with the jewelry. In Florence, another type of mosaic work known as marquetries, or Pietra Dura, were created from polished precious stones. Carefully cut pieces of gemstone are fitted together like a jigsaw puzzle to form the image. The Pietra Dura technique blossomed during the Renaissance and was revived in the 19th century. Much of it is in a floral design. These doves, known as the doves of Pliny, appear frequently actually on micromosaics, but here we see them in several Pietra Dura pieces. The image comes from a Roman floor mosaic discovered in 1737 at Hadrian's Villa in Tivoli, which in turn is believed to be a copy of a lost ancient Greek mosaic at Pergamon. The original is described by Pliny the Elder in his Natural History. His work completed in 77 AD, a comprehensive 37-volume work covering a vast array of topics on human knowledge and the natural world. Show you that Pietra Dura was also done on large-scale objects. This gorgeous inlaid table, which is in the Metropolitan Museum of Art, is an example. Naples excelled in the production of shell cameos, second only in quality to Rome, which was the hub of cameo cutting during the 19th century. Finely engraved cameos and intaglios from the Bay of Naples were quite popular. The shells used by Neapolitan cameo carvers were typically varieties of the helmet shell and the queen conch shell. Both are large sea snails with thick exoskeletons that can be carved to reveal layers of contrasting color. Carnelian colored and white in the case of helmet shells, and pink and white in conchs. These engraved mini sculptures featured a wide range of motifs, including portraits of notable people, gods, scenes from classical mythology, symbols of love and faith, warriors and heroes, landscapes, flowers, and profile busts of young women. A subset of the cameo trade in the 19th century, Naples wore high relief carvings made of lava. After the discovery of the buried cities of Pompeii, Herculaneum, and others around 1748, a new type of souvenir jewelry emerged. These towns had been abruptly smothered under a deadly mud flow of volcanic dust, ash, gas, and steam by the unexpected eruption of Mount Vesuvius in 76 AD, with other eruptions to follow, but none with the magnitude of the original. The magnitude of the destruction. Travelers of the Grand Tour found the newly excavated ruins to be an irresistible stop. Lava trinkets from these sites made for excellent and inexpensive souvenirs, easy to pack and carry. In addition, wearing a lava cameo proved the wearer to be a well-traveled person of culture and taste. Sculpted from the soft volcanic rock found in the Mount Vesuvius region, today they are often sought by cameo collectors with an interest in exotic materials. Hair combs, necklaces, chains, bracelets, pendants, and brooches were all popular. While traditionally we call these muddy-colored Italian cameos lava, technically they may be other related materials. Even though it may not be geologically correct terminology, we continue to use the term lava jewelry, coined by the original Italian carvers when referring to this material with a biscuit porcelain luster, meaning a flat finish, not a glazed one. The lava carvings of the Mount Vesuvius region range in color from off-white or yellowish to varying shades of gray when it's not been dyed any number of deeper colors. Subject matter on lava cameos includes archaeological motifs, satyrs, portraits, mythological gods, and creatures. Objects made of the vibrant red coral harvested off the shores of Torre del Greco were also an attraction. This area in southern Naples, a center of coral processing and manufacturing since ancient times, was regarded as the unofficial European capital of the coral trade. The King of Naples opened a coral factory there around 1800, and by the 1880s, there were 40 factories with 3,200 workers who were mostly women. Some ornaments, including this tiara made around 1860, are composed primarily of polished branch coral, while others, including cameos, are small sculptures mounted in gold. In addition to its aesthetic appeal, coral has a long history of as a magical substance, offering protection from illness, natural disasters, and the malevolent intentions of others. Also in Italy, there were artisans now considered among the world's finest goldsmiths, a distinction largely based on their having mastered the labor-intensive techniques of fine filigree and granulation. Both are methods of decorating gold surfaces using fine wires or gold balls or granules that are bonded to thin sheets of metal through fusion or colloidal soldering. Wealthy Americans and Europeans not only toured historic sites, but frequently went to the specialized shops that sold small antiquities and jewelry made in the new archaeological revival style, a design approach to the historical past that incorporated ancient motifs and sometimes actual artifacts into ornaments using methods perfected by ancient Mediterranean artisans. The jewelers credited with having rediscovered these techniques, which are often used to create marvelous facsimiles of excavated ornaments, were the Castellanis, a multi-generational family of highly skilled metalsmiths with a gallery and workshop in Rome and then later in London. The jewelry made by the Castellanis is known as archaeological revival jewelry, based on its designs that derive from ancient Greece, Rome, Etruscan designs, as well as Egyptian revival and Renaissance designs. Many of the jewels are direct copies of old pieces, while others are interpretations. Although the Castellanis were the most famous of this genre, they were by no means the only firm making revival in the 19th century. And here we see a French artist who was actually working in Italy. And this is a piece of Renaissance revival jewelry. And these are the last two pieces I will show you. They're both Egyptian revival. The piece on the left was made by a British firm, Phillips. And on the right, I show you a piece by Marcus and Company, which I know Beth knows well. And although it's not a piece that was bought on the Grand Tour because it was made in America, the Marcus and Company was very in tune with what was happening in Europe, and that influenced this piece of jewelry. Now we'll look at pieces of jewelry from the unnamed sources of the same type of jewelry and ask our experts to comment on them as if the piece was just brought to them to look at. But please note one caveat. It's not quite the same thing to look at a picture of a piece of jewelry as it is to hold it in your hand. So we'll start with Beth and then Merle and then Lourdes as we look at each piece. So this first piece, the one thing I can tell you is it depicts the Parthenon. And it's possible it came out of the Vatican workshop. And Beth, you want to tell us what you think about this piece?
Yes, of course. And I'm going to begin with a couple of caveats myself, pardon me, which is to say that when you're collecting for a museum, there are a lot of things one has to keep in mind. Primarily, first of all, is this a gift or am I supposed to purchase it? That's one question.
Right.
But if it is a purchase, then you have to find funding usually. The easiest way I've always found is to have some jewelry angels who enjoy collecting with you and helping you purchase things. If you're purchasing at auction for a museum, you always have to set a ceiling. How high can you go, which can be disappointing. And before that, we would always have a conservator take a look to make sure there aren't any damages or alterations. And of course, you want to see what else is in the museum's collection. The two common phrases people use are collecting to strength. Does this help build something you already have? Or filling gaps, what's missing? Now, I think this is quite a beautiful micromosaic. I did recognize it as the Parthenon, and and I like how it's mounted in a black frame. So, particularly for a gift, I would certainly take it. It's both looks like it's a brooch and a pendant, which is also nice. Oh, the other thing about museums is, can I exhibit it? How easy would it be to? So that would be my opinion.
Okay, Merle.
So, from an appraiser's point of view, is it authentic or not? It's the first question. Yes, it looks pretty authentic to me. And what are the metals? We don't want to rub it on a stone. It's better to have a electronic device. Just point it, touch it, and not scrape anything off of it. It should be. What is it usually? Mostly 14 karat and it has a bloom on it. Bloom is, or a romanization. They would dip the metal before setting anything into it. Dip the metal into the gold into horrible acids, and it would destroy disintegrate the alloys. And what would be left on the outside would be a high karat gold. Hence the word romanization. They wanted these revival pieces to look like the original pieces, which were what, 2,000 years old? 1,000?
Yeah.
So they wanted it to look high carat. So often it's a lower carat underneath that layer of high carat that pretty much lasts forever unless it's somewhat damaged, rubbed off. Condition is everything, right, Beth? It's everything. The condition, no dents, nothing missing. The fact that the pin is sticking out to the one side is really a good sign. I remember having done a gazillion antique shows and having a shop. People say, why is it sticking out like that? I said, because it's supposed to. It's supposed to hold the material so it stays put. And also the chain is probably not the original chain. So point it out. You have to put it on a chain because nobody wears pins anymore. If one is going to buy it for themselves or wear it, so just disclose it. It's a new chain. What are you going to do? You have to disclose it. But as long as the old piece is not damaged, the original piece, and everything's in place, no tesserae are missing. Does anybody know? Does anybody repair these things anymore?
I think there is someone, but hard to find.
Hard to find.
Maybe Lourdes knows.
And if
Okay.
yep. Okay, that's
Why don't we move on to Lourdes?
Hi. So I'm going to kind of start by saying that auction estimates are really just that. They're auction estimates. We have normally in the auction industry, we work within the fair market values, which would be what someone is willing to pay for the piece, really, in a market where it's not a pressured sale. So are we giving estimates?
If you want to, that'd be great.
Okay. So one thing, Marley, I'd like to point out, you mentioned the bail. That's not original to the brooch. That's correct, right?
I don't know that.
I think if I were looking at this in person, I would assume that the bail was something perhaps added after the fact. So we'll go back to auctions. If obviously we're looking at the condition, we place conservative estimates on these pieces, and that just helps to drive attention to the lot and interest bidders to place bids early on. So if this was coming up for auction without the chain, we'd probably put an auction estimate of $800 to $1,200. With the chain, it could probably change to about $1,500 to $2,000.
Great. Well, there was one thing I wanted to add. Now it's slipping my mind. What was I going to say? I've lost it. If I remember it again, I'll ask. It's something to do about the auction process, but why don't we move on to the next piece and then maybe it will come back. Oh, I know. If there were tessera missing, like even just one, would you sell it or just have a much lower estimate?
We would sell it, and we would disclose it in the condition report. So
Okay.
anyone interested could see the condition notes on the listing.
Okay, I just wanted to point out in general that I pick these pieces for us to look at because these are the kind of pieces you can find in the marketplace that you as a collector might come across. So that's the purpose of us talking about them.
Could I say something, Elyse, about the auction houses? I like what Lourdes said, because if I were acquiring this for a museum, I would want the museum conservation department to make any alterations if necessary, or because they would do a removable technique. They wouldn't do something that couldn't be, taken back.
Okay, well, it's always nice to have a conservation department.
Yeah, exactly. I know most of us don't.
I don't have one.
Don't have one either.
Okay. Okay, next piece, another micromosaic. This one we actually do now, comes from the Vatican workshop because it's got an essay mark on it. But that's all we really know.
Okay. In fact, I was thinking that I wondered if you knew how many of these pieces are marked, what the back looks like.
This is the only one I know.
Okay. All right. That's helpful. Anyhow, this looks like a really beautiful piece. Very nice mount. When I first looked at it, I thought, well, is that drop right? But then I realized that the decoration on the drop, the ornament, is also in the little triangular spandrels, or whatever you call them, on the mount. Of course, you talked already about the white doves being a sign of peace, and flowers, all very typical of the Victorian period. And I'm not exactly sure. Do you think it was meant to be a pendant with those two loops? I can't, it's hard looking at a tiny photo.
I think so.
Yeah. Maybe there's a brooch, a pin back, but it's not sticking out, as Merle said. So that's not.
The seller listed it as a brooch / pendant.
Okay.
On the internet.
Yeah. So I think I'd have the same, series of steps that I said for the last micromosaic, but I think this is quite a lovely one.
Merle?
Oh boy, looks right to me, color wise,
yeah,
intricate wise. It's like a pendant without a chain. Seems everything is in place. I don't have it blown up in my page. It looks like it's right, but it's all I can tell you. The back is, as soon as we're handed a piece of jewelry, we always flip it over. And that really starts everything. And then we go to the front because the back tells that last piece. Perhaps that veil was added later on. And also that last piece, the onyx. We don't know if it was onyx or glass. Do you know, Lourdes, if most of the time it was onyx that they used?
I believe it was onyx.
It's hard to tell.
Hard to tell without having it in your
It's hard
hand.
to tell if there's a tiny chip, and in a like we're always hoping there's a tiny chip hidden that we can look in our microscope, and in the luster of that chip, if it's a dull luster, dull grainy, then it's onyx. If it's shiny, glassy, it's glass. So that's the only way I could really tell. But I know sometimes here, anyway, in the United States, they use glass a lot. So, but this piece looks good to me, from what I can tell.
Okay, Lourdes?
Well, at first glance, it looks like it could be high carat. Yeah, it's a very pretty piece with the subject isn't religious, so that not really. So it's kind of nice, a nice representation, especially because it was made by the Vatican. Anyone could really wear it. I would think at auction, something like this, we'd probably put an estimate of $3,000 to $5,000, and it's probably something that would exceed the estimate. Obviously,
Nice.
it's a museum, so it's quite priceless, but I think there's still samples out there.
Well, I would like to own it. Okay, let's move on to the next piece. Okay, so now we have some Pietra Dura. I don't know anything about this piece.
All right. Well, yes, Pietra Dura, which is very beautiful, very strong. I always think it's a plus to have the original box, whether you're just collecting for yourself or for a museum. And, I mean, again, Victorian flower jewelry is very popular. Each flower, there was a lot written on the language of flowers. Each flower would have had a meaning. I couldn't tell, maybe Elyse, probably not, whether the box is labeled on the interior.
No, this is the way the picture showed, but it looks like it should be the original box.
It does,
But I
sure.
just don't know whose box it is.
Yeah, and again, looks like in good condition. The gold, I don't know maybe about the carat, but it looks like it's fairly simple, but right, the mount. Yeah. Again, I would certainly take it as a gift, whether I'd purchase it. Easy to.
Okay, Merle.
I think I see a pin coming off to the right side of
Yeah,
it.
you do. I see it too.
That again is a plus. And remember, all these you've got to test these things with the electronic devices, because they all look like they're high carat. They're supposed to, because of that acid treatment that they have. So it's nicely matched. The colors are great. Original box, all good stuff. All good things to look for. Hopefully,
and the ear wires look right to you.
From what I can tell, yes, they do. They do. But I'm not looking. You got to look at the back.
I know. This is not the best situation, but
no, but we're
we
doing the best we can. From what we're looking at right now, it looks like those wires do fit right into the crevices in that box. So, and that is where they would be worn, the wires above the earrings.
Okay, Lourdes?
So something interesting is that on a daily basis, we do receive inquiries that are just photographs like this, and people want to know auction estimates. So just like now, we have to kind of give a general auction estimate with a range. Again, Pietra Dura is not as detailed as the micromosaic. And I love the box. Usually we don't see these with boxes. I'm a big box person, so presentation is very important for these types of items. They rarely survive. So something like this at auction, I probably place a conservative auction estimate of $2,000 to $3,000.
Nice. Sounds good. Okay.
We got to make sure there's no lead solder on the back, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, please point these kind of things out, because it's.
I guarantee the first one had lead solder.
Yeah.
Could you explain?
You know why
Well,
they
could you just say why you don't want lead solder for anybody who doesn't know?
Because it shows it's a repair, and it's an ugly repair. But the reason they use lead was because at a low melting point. You can't put a high heat anywhere near that. It will hurt the gold, the bloom, and it would affect the Pietra Dura.
Does the lead eventually, though, eat into the gold? I mean,
no,
it's not a long-term problem.
Ugly. It's just
Ugly.
ugly.
Okay.
I mean, now we have fine laser repair people who can just
Right.
zap an ear and make what do you call it? A piercing in it, on a penny.
Mhm.
can do it without you even telling that it's been done. So at least repairs can be done well now.
So this would be an old repair if you saw lead.
If lead, yeah, generally it's very, very cheap to do, and it works on these precious pieces that they don't hurt the piece.
Just a quick question before I move on. If the box was signed by the firm that sold it or made it, would that increase the value, Lourdes, do you think?
If it's a known firm, yeah.
That would
think
add. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of makers were kind of independent, so it's hard to track what kind of if they're a collectible maker or not. But yeah, I think it could make a difference. I think just having the box alone, it would make a difference for me. I'm a sucker for presentation cases, so I definitely pay a premium for that box.
Okay. But we do know there are people who sell jewelry out in the marketplace that will acquire a box and put somebody else's jewelry in it. So the fact that this is kind of fitted exactly is a good sign, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We're going to leave mosaics at this point. No, we have one more.
No,
I apologize. I personally think this bracelet's really lovely, but I'll leave this up to you guys to talk about. Beth?
Yeah, no, agreed. Really lovely. I love the mount with the quatrefoils, very archaeological revival or whatever you want to call it. It's a little hard to tell, but it looks like the Pietra Dura floral designs at least alternate if they're not each different. It's a little hard to tell.
Yeah, I can't tell.
Yeah, but no, it's quite lovely. Yeah, I would accept that as well. I don't, unless there's something wrong with it. I can't tell. Is there? I was trying to tell if there was a mark on the piece you can see on the back. There's a little raised
Like
area.
white there.
I can't show you, but if the one that you see the back of the upper left, it's not Castellani, but I thought, oh, is that a Castellani mark? But that kind of
and you got better eyesight. You mean right here?
I
There's
can't
like
see where you're pointing.
well,
but yeah, it's sort of
there's like a little lozenge there.
11 o'clock. Yeah. Anyhow, nice. Very nice.
I would hope that whoever's selling it would have known that,
Yeah.
but you never know. People miss things. Merle, do you want to talk a little bit about looking for marks since this came up?
Yes. Well, looking for marks. Sometimes it is so difficult to find one. I don't know how they did it so small with the tools they had then way back. But if they're not, most of these things were not marked, as you said. And it's just wonderful to find a mark, but that's the way it is, or was. It still is. Our own trademarking system here in the United States is ridiculous. You don't really have to mark anything if you don't want to. But if you do, you have to have two marks: your registered trademark and your the metal content. That's it for our law here.
Yeah.
Most countries have been very, very strict. France, perhaps, it's like one of the most, and England, and they got tons of marks. Oh, France is a nightmare to read marks. How are you with those marks, Lourdes, with the French? And you, Beth?
It's not easy. We have catalogers that spend a couple hours doing the research on each mark. So it's a tough process. Something that I always mention to artists whenever I'm doing any kind of talk, craft artists and artisans, is mark your pieces.
Yes.
It's on the secondary market is just such an important part. Also, it shows that you're proud of the piece. So always mark it. That's my suggestion to anyone creating jewelry. But this piece, it's interesting. I can't tell where it ends, or I can't see a clasp. But
No, you can't.
yeah, but each floral piece is very detailed and different. So that's fun. I do see that raised round circle at the back of the
This
center
piece right here.
center link, but there's no marking. So
Yeah.
something like this is very unique. Unlike that first slide, those are fairly more common. This one, I've never seen one like this really. So I think at auction, I'd probably put in an estimate of maybe 5,000 to 6,000.
Nice.
I'm trying to see the links if they're soldered or not. I don't see
Yeah.
solder mark on the center one to the right, or the top one to the right. But
Do you think, are these links very delicate to wear the bracelet?
I would be more concerned with the inlay, the Pietra Dura, more so than the links. But I mean, it survived this long.
Right.
Well, are any companies making repros that look anything like this that anybody's aware of?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Not, I mean, there's mosaic work being done, but it doesn't look anything like the old pieces.
I've seen later pieces, like or I'm sorry, like 19, maybe 60s, 70s
Yeah.
pieces that were made in silver. But other than that, not now. I haven't seen any.
Well, the finish, gold finish doesn't look. Nobody's I have not seen a new rendition of the gold surface, a modern version that matches any of this older material.
Something we also, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, something that we also take into consideration when we're placing auction estimates is the intrinsic value of the metal. We kind of use that as a guide to ensure we're not undervaluing a piece. And today's gold prices are quite interesting for 18 karat gold. It really jumped today. So those are the things we also base our estimates on.
Yeah, that's pretty important these days.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're going to move on to Lavia. This is quite an unusual piece. Beth, what do you think?
Well, you talked about lava, so that's good. Yeah, whether it all came from the eruption of Mount Vesuvius, who knows? But it's very appealing. I don't remember ever seeing blue lava cameos.
Me neither.
Usually white, beige, yellowish, maybe pinkish. I don't know, but it did make me wonder, could that have been dyed blue? It's a little hard to tell the quality of the cameos. They don't look bad. But yeah, to me, that's a real question. Nice to have a bracelet. The mount's quite simple. For a museum like the Met, which is the main museum I collected for, there are cameos throughout the museum in the ancient world, Renaissance, Baroque, certainly 18th and 19th centuries, 20th century. So adding cameos to that mix, in particular if there aren't lava ones, would be nice. But I would want to know about that blue one. That's a mystery to me.
Could your conservation department determine that?
I think they probably could, yeah. And the other thing, Elyse, is I feel like I could see a signature on the back of the.
That's what I'm using a magnifier. Yeah.
Here?
Is that working on the brick colored one? I can't tell.
It almost looks like there's something on both of these, but I don't know.
Yeah, could be. It's a little small. But anyhow, that would be interesting to know, because sometimes cameos are signed on the back like that, sort of scratch signatures.
Right.
Anyhow, do you know about the blue one, Elyse?
Just to tell you, I showed this to Yvonne Markowitz, who was the curator of jewelry at the Museum of Fine Arts, Boston. And she'd never seen this color before. She suggested that maybe it's been dyed. So,
Okay.
Merle, what do you think?
Suspicion.
I would have to look at it in a different light. It just may have a something in it, that a twinge that is just making it look more blue in this photo. And I've never seen these things signed in any way. Not that I have seen gazillions of them, but I just it's odd that there are letters in there. I don't know. It's research time.
I've seen stone cameos signed. I don't know about lava.
Right, lava, not lava. No. I don't know. I'd have to see it in different light. You know,
Yeah.
lights make a big difference in a lot of these things.
Yeah.
It just might be the way the light hit it. The people taking these pictures, you picked them off the internet, right?
Correct. So they're taking it in their store or whatever.
Yeah. So sometimes the light throws it off. So I'm not.
I mean, it could be kind of a gray that
That's what
the
I'm
lighting is off.
just a gray, a dark
But
gray.
if you saw something that really had this color, it should give you some pause for thought.
Definitely pause. Yeah, if it really was blue, but I hesitate to say until I see it in a different light. That's it. That's all I can say. But true.
Cameos are tough in the secondary market, but I think it's a very pretty bracelet that Mercury carved Cameo. I don't trust it either. I would probably think it's a reproduction. Honestly, if I open this picture in my inbox, that's probably what I would think, and I would just give an estimate, just as as a jewelry piece. I mean, I still think it's a really pretty piece. I would probably put an estimate of $2,000 to $3,000.
Do you think just what appears to be blue is a reproduction, or the whole bracelet?
I feel the whole bracelet. I'm looking at the way the links are attached. I don't know, it seems very polished. The settings look very polished to me. I don't know.
The color's wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this could be potentially something that if you went to Europe today, you might find a shop that's making them.
Yeah, that's possible also. But yeah, my first thought would be it's a repro, unless it's personally inspected. And sometimes that I will respond with that caveat that this is the auction estimate. It's very conservative and it's pending first-hand inspection, and we just move on from there.
Okay, well, it's good for people to know if the color is unusual. It's something to be concerned about.
Always go with our gut.
Yeah. Right.
Okay, and here's another lava cameo. Very three-dimensional, and that's all I know about it.
Very high relief. Very simple mount. Pin sticks out. I guess it's maybe Cupid. I see a lyre and maybe some arrows, a quiver. I'm not crazy about it. But it looks like it is what it is. I'm not. I don't think I'm going to buy it. Thank you.
Merle?
It's old. It's gold. The pin is sticking out. It's old. It's not so highly desirable.
I love him.
Do you?
I think he's adorable. His legs are chunky. The frame does look like it's gold filled. Doesn't look like it's gold, but I think he's cute. I think at auction, it wouldn't bring too much, maybe 500 to 600 on a good day, but he's cute. I love him.
I think he's cute too.
Yeah, I like his little chunky leg. Makes me feel normal.
Be a little scared to wear something so high in relief. I'd be a little nervous,
Yeah.
especially with lava. Anyhow, I don't know.
I don't think the detail is it's not too detailed of a carving. But I don't know. I like him. I think were they called Putti, Putti?
Yeah, that could be one way to describe him.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he's very cute. Okay. So now we're moving into coral.
Yeah.
The only thing I know about this piece is it's sold in an auction house in Spain, who I'd never heard of before, but
Yeah. Well, the bits look right, fruit, flowers, pendant amphora in the center. I don't know about the construction, but I think I've seen other necklaces like this. I'd certainly want to look at it closely and have it looked at by a conservator. My understanding, as you said, is that most coral jewelry came from Naples, was carved in Naples. I know a lot of it was shipped over, even in parts,
Right.
to the United States and probably elsewhere.
Yep.
Yeah, because I know some pieces that are clearly, Italian carved coral that are in boxes retailed by Tiffany and Company or someplace like that. It's pretty. I want to investigate a little more.
Merle,
Uh,
you've probably looked at a lot of this kind of jewelry.
I have. It's usually a little more symmetrical.
Uh-huh.
And maybe, yeah, boy, you have to look up closely at this one to see if the wires, if things have been redone
Mm-hmm.
or moved around.
Well, on the
Looks like
There's-
old carving.
yeah, there's a little grapevine on one side, but it's not on the other side.
It usually it's matched.
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe this one's just isn't. So, but sometimes it's just made out of parts that have been sitting around. Somebody put it together.
Mhm.
It's pretty. It's desirable. People love their coral, especially this color.
Lourdes, what do you think? How would this sell?
Well, I mean, the first thing I look at is the chain. It looks like the coral part, they're kind of wired onto the necklace part, the bottom focal point, and then the chain was added, which would make sense if it was shipped in pieces. And that was to avoid taxes, tariffs.
Oh, clever.
Yeah, it's not quite symmetrical, but I think there's some leeway with the age of the piece here. At auction, it would probably bring anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000.
Hmm. I owned one of these brooches at one time. And the one thing I did know is that the leaves kept falling off. They're on like little wires, and I managed to put them back, but it'd be easy to lose them. So, and does the amphora look right to you? Somehow it looks odd to me.
Well, it's funny because everything else is fruit and flowers.
Right.
I think it's the gold bead right on top of it too that makes it different.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a made up piece of older parts.
It's a pastiche.
Could be. Yeah.
Okay, but it's nice coral.
If it's a if it's a stiff focal, it could have been part of something else, perhaps a tiara or something.
Yeah, that's what I think. That's what it looks like to me. Okay. And this bracelet.
Oh, yes. I was really intrigued by this at first. The Cameo looks pretty nice. I think the frame around the Cameo is quite lovely. Again, that wire work, archaeological revival. But I'm really baffled by the rest of it. The two parts to the side, the hinges, I can't make them out, but they look a little funny. And the chain in the back looks funny to me. I mean, I'd expect it to be more of a solid back. But I don't know, maybe some of the rest of you who've seen bracelets like that. It's just chains, right?
Yeah, I think it's odd looking.
It looked to me like a brooch that was made into a bracelet.
Right.
Anyhow, the front part is pretty. It's nice. I definitely want to investigate.
Again, we're really hampered by looking at photographs, but
Yes, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Not everybody loves cameos, but I think at the time they were considered smart jewelry because it showed a certain erudition or education that you were interested in, this ancient art form. So it makes sense that they were preferred by revivalist jewelers. Okay, investigate. Is my
okay.
parting
Paul
word.
Merlin.
It's stunning. The Cameo itself is just stunning, but we have to open that bracelet up so we can see if those side pieces really do match, or they're close, or if it indeed was a brooch or just a single pendant. But that's all I can tell from the photo. But the Cameo itself is fabulous.
Okay, and how would this do at auction?
Well, I think the way the frame is, the scroll work on the frame is really pretty, very detailed. The hinges look like they could be additions. And I would also assume that the bracelet, if it's original, it would have been some kind of a braided bracelet, something like Byzantine in fashion. Doesn't quite look that way, but the Cameo, the curls are very, very detailed. I think at auction, something like this would probably bring 4,000 to 6,000.
It's nice front. But I just want to point out to the people who are watching this, this is good for you to see these kinds of things because not everything's original. And you need to know if the totality of the piece looks right, which you can look at a lot of pieces in museum collections online to get an understanding.
I think that's part of the fun also is really finding something that's original, every single part. It's like a classic car. Yes, it would be nice to have everything original, but sometimes with age, they're antique old pieces. We're not going to find it's very hard to find a perfect piece. I think for the most part, for myself, if it's about 80% accurate, I would be delighted. But 100% accurate is very nice. It's just hard to come across. And I think that's what museums are looking for. I would assume that.
Yes, no, we wanted accurate. I was just musing, if this fell into my lap as a gift, if we did determine that the hinged parts and the chain were added to a brooch, what would happen? We could take that off, remove it and, take it back to its original broochness. Don't know, but it's just something to consider. You might find a piece like this out in the world and think, oh, I could wear it as a brooch. Maybe it's probably lost its pin back, if it ever had one. Anyhow, just it doesn't have to stick. Yeah,
it's a curious piece.
It is a curious piece, but very pretty. I mean, the front, anyhow. Yeah.
Okay. Here we have a fringe necklace.
Right. Well, here are your amphora again. Looks right to me that that type of ornament, and it's the kind of thing that was popularized by Castellani, but I don't think that's Castellani. I guess I'd want to know what the gold was. The spacers, from what I can see, look good between them. It's not an exceptional piece, but very wearable. I probably wouldn't purchase it for a museum, but I might purchase it to wear if it seemed okay.
Okay, Merle?
Just agree completely with Beth here. It looks good. Unless, examine it and see some dings.
Yes,
dings.
Yeah, there could be.
They are hollow.
Right. So they could be have a dent in them.
Yeah.
That doesn't help it, but otherwise, and we don't know what the catch is either.
Right.
No, it was cut off in the picture.
So from what we can see, it looks good. And it would be nice to know the carat, what the carat is.
Yeah, it's probably 18 karat. I would assume just the coils around the necklace look like they have to be kind of soft for them to go around that way. It's a nice piece, a lot of gold. At auction, it would do really well, probably also depending on the price of gold, but I would probably say 10 or 15,000. That's probably what it would go for.
Beth, are you still buying?
Me, not the museum. And that's
Very wearable today too.
It is.
If we think of the cameos, I think they were modestly priced, and we can tell by the flood in the market. Almost everyone probably bought a cameo and brought one back, but these types of pieces, I think, were a little bit more scarce and higher value, so not everyone was able to bring something like this back from their grand tour.
Okay. Now, this is an interesting piece.
Yes.
I was going to try to trick you, but I decided it wasn't fair. So I'm going to tell you right off the bat that it's a replica, a
No.
modern replica.
Silver?
I have to admit, having the one you showed that's at the Met, I acquired.
Right.
It was a gift from a wonderful collector who's since passed away, called Jacqueline Fowler,
Right.
and it's Castellani, and it's very dense, and this just looks so frail and thin. Yeah.
Somebody's actually selling this on Etsy
Oh, really? Oh my gosh.
for
Well,
under $100.
I'd just say if the price is right and you like it, but I like the look of the Castellani.
I was hoping all of you guys could just point out what to be looking for so that you know it's a reproduction. Whatever clues you can give. You just gave some, Beth.
Yeah, and I don't think I can't tell what the clasp is, but it's not a Castellani clasp, that's for sure.
The extent,
Adjustable chains.
Yes.
Not an older piece. Nope.
definitely the additional inch there is not. But you know what? I'm gonna say for someone on Etsy, if it's handmade, took them a lot of time to put together. It looks like it's. I can't tell if it's beaded with seed pearls or not, but yeah, like Beth said, if the price is right and you like it and you're gonna wear it, then go for it.
Or can anyone tell what the grape clusters are?
I think they're garnets. If I'm not,
because Castellani is glass. Castellani used glass grapes.
right.
And very
These
nice.
are garnets.
Yeah.
And I don't even think this is gold, if I recall. I
Doesn't
think it
look
might
like
be some kind of base metal.
Yeah, it doesn't look like gold. But
So
it took
I just thought it was very curious that somebody made
Well,
a
they're
replica.
looking back at
I think I like the fact that they made something like this. I think it draws the inspiration from really nice jewelry pieces, and they're able to create something themselves like this is very creative. So
yeah.
I just wanted people who are watching to be aware that there might be something like this out in the marketplace to watch out for. It's not bad. I mean, it probably looks great on.
And Elyse, on Etsy, is it called a reproduction or replica?
Yes, it actually says replica. Is the word they use.
Not trying to fool. No.
No, but the problem is that once it gets out into the marketplace, it can fool somebody because it's not being described properly.
Right.
So, but I just thought it's good to know that this kind of thing is out in the marketplace.
It's a good choice.
And the last piece we're going to look at is just another fringe necklace, but it's more elaborate.
Yeah, I like this one. I do. Again, it's sort of leaves and drops. I like the clasp. I like the color. I like the arrangement. Again, archaeological revival, whether it's based on anything that was being dug up in the 19th century, you'd have to look, but it could be. I mean, Castellani certainly had access to some of these excavated pieces. Do you know if this one is marked?
No, I don't think so, because they would have described it as such.
Yes, of course. Yeah. Yeah, I'd consider that for a museum, especially if you could show it with, an ancient piece that, had a similar design. It probably feels very good to wear. I'd like to wear it too.
Okay, Merle.
I'm looking at with my little magnifier. I can see the clasp is more of a handmade proprietary kind of clasp. The really interesting wires that complement each other, like that kind of thing, yin and yang.
Yeah.
It's really good, interesting class. Yeah, everything looks really right about it. You can just see somebody wearing it, and it will just move when you breathe and when you walk, and really catch the light and just be beautiful. It's a great piece. So yeah, I don't think I'd see a reproduction that looks like that. Looks good to me from what I can
No,
see.
I don't think so. Lourdes, what do you think it would sell for at auction?
I think at auction, probably 15 to 20,000.
15.
Nice.
15.
Yeah, I think it's really pretty.
Holy moly.
Yeah.
Is there anything anybody wants to add overall or about any of the particular pieces before we kind of close up shop?
I think what everyone has said in different ways is it really is better to handle it. You know, it's fun to look at the images, but there's so many things you want to check out that and just how it feels. You know, if you're shopping for jewelry, I mean, maybe during COVID it was a good way to do it, but if you can get out there and actually handle it,
Right.
so much better. Yeah.
Well, just remember that it's the color of the gold has not really been duplicated today.
Yeah.
I don't see it. Anything that kind of sort of looks like it, it's just not the same. So once you see that old bloom on there, that old high carat finish, and it's sort of matte, I always tell people, don't take it to a retail jeweler to get cleaned. Don't take your great old piece. They will buff it off, make it shiny. And it's like, oh my goodness, don't do that. Leave that old finish on there always. So, and it's a particularly individualized one that once you see it and train your eye to see it, you won't make that mistake when you're questioning whether something is truly old or is it new. So that's my advice with that.
Yeah, and for auction, it comes down to desirability. How many bidders are interested in buying? How much competition we've created for the piece? Some of these estimates are conservative, and we could really do 0 to 0, and it's going to do what it's going to do at auction. But yeah, I think if you really want something and you'll wear it, bid your little heart out.
Well,
I don't think these have not ever been popular, because some designs go in and out and in and out. I can't ever remember this ever being out of fashion.
talking about the archaeological revival.
Yes.
Always desirable.
Yeah.
Always.
Good point. Good point.
Because they're beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank all of my panelists for being here today with great insights. And I want to thank everybody who's been watching for enjoying this. And we're all reachable if you have further questions. And maybe we'll see you again next year. Thank you.
Hope so. Thank you.
Thank you, Elyse, too.
Bye, everyone.